The aviation industry has had a little bit of a rocky start to 2024. With a pair of high-profile accidents taking place, the industry has drawn some unwanted attention. Heading into the Singapore Airshow, many were hoping for a fresh start. And that's pretty much exactly what we've got. The Airshow offered a breath of fresh air, allowing OEMs to show off their latest and greatest innovations, while also making a boatload of money in the process. But just because the Airshow as a whole was a success, doesn't mean that everyone walked away happy. As always, there were winners and there were losers. So who exactly are the winners and losers of this year's Singapore Airshow? Let me explain. Now, before hopping into it, I wanted to take a moment to reflect. I absolutely love what I do. Being able to travel the world to cover aviation is so fun and so fulfilling. And now by making it to Singapore, I've been to 3 air shows in the last year alone. But Singapore is also almost 10,000 miles away from my home. And the thought of being here alone without my support group, my friends and family, it's a little bit scary. Luckily, I've discovered tools to help cope. And one of those is BetterHelp, today's sponsor. Through their online therapy platform, I've learned effective strategies to help manage my anxiety, and so can you. BetterHelp offers access to over 30,000 licensed therapists through your phone or computer. This makes it incredibly convenient, especially for someone like me who's always on the move. The process is simple. Fill out a questionnaire, and you're matched with a therapist in usually less than 48 hours. And if you need to, switching therapists is straightforward and free of charge, no questions asked. If there's something in your life that's bothering you, or if you just feel like you need to talk to someone about the stresses that life brings, you should visit betterhelp.com/explains, and you'll receive 10% off your first month of therapy. Doing so helps support my channel, and it can also help support your mental health. The first winner of the show is the commercial jet that took home the most orders, the 787 Dreamliner. Boeing's commercial business is kind of a mess right now. The 777X has become one of the most delayed aircraft programs in history, and of course, the 737 MAX has faced safety and quality control issues. This has thrust Boeing into an era of uncertainty, and if it hopes to ride out this rocky period, it'll need to lead on the strength of its marquee 787 program. Well, that's exactly what happened at this year's show. Boeing secured firm orders for 49 Dreamliners, worth close to $15 billion at list price. And as a cherry on top, 45 of those planes were ordered by Thai Airways, who was also evaluating a competing offer for the A350. Now that is certainly a bummer for the A350, but even so, it still managed to walk out of the week a winner. During the show, Rolls-Royce detailed its plans to invest over £1 billion into its Trent engine family in an effort to make it more reliable. Now, this improvement plan will touch the Trent 1000, Trent 7000, and Trent XWB. But there is no engine that will be affected more than the Trent XWB 97 that powers the A350 1000. If you'll recall, Tim Clark, the president of Emirates, lambasted the engine at last year's Dubai Airshow. He said that under no circumstances would he purchase the A350 1000 until this engine improved. Specifically, he took issue with its reliability, saying that it can't stay on the wing long enough for Emirates' needs, who operates in harsh and sandy climates. Now, over the course of the next 5 years, Rolls-Royce is going to implement changes that will rectify these issues. Specifically, they're going to be adding high-temperature materials and coatings to the inside of these engines. And the team is confident that this will double the engine's time on wing in harsh environments. This change is absolutely massive for Airbus and the A350 program, since it'll help them secure more orders in the lucrative Middle East market. And of course, it'll also help pave the way for a coveted A350 1000 order from Emirates. Another major winner of the show is Comac. In case you missed it, I went to both the Paris Airshow last summer and the Dubai Airshow last fall. And at both of those events, the 777X was the star of the show. And it makes sense. The plane's an enigma. It's been in development for years, and these were some of the first opportunities for the public to see it up close.
Now, what does any of this have to do with Comac? Well, the 777X didn't make it to the show, and instead, the exotic beast that gobbled up all the attention was the C919.
This brand new narrow-body jet, of which only about 10 have ever been built, made its first ever international appearance in Singapore.
Now, the C919 still wasn't able to secure an order from an international carrier. Its entire backlog is made up of Chinese airlines. But by bringing this aircraft to the show, it seems that Comac is confident in the maturity of this platform, and it's ready to start marketing the plane beyond its borders.
And if they can start winning deals from existing Boeing and Airbus customers, well, it could change aviation forever.
The final winner of this year's show is Starlux.
If you don't know Starlux, they're a relatively new carrier based out of Taiwan. Now, Taiwan isn't all that big, and it already has two major international airlines. So if Starlux hopes to become a real player in this market, well, it won't be easy.
Luckily, they got tremendous exposure this week.
Typically, they would be competing for attention from other airlines or other commercial jets on display. However, Starlux's A330neo was the sole Boeing or Airbus plane at the show, which really made it the belle of the ball. It drew a ton of attention from media and customers alike, and practically everyone I talked to had glowing things to say about its stellar cabin product. Not only that, but Starlux also placed one of the few commercial orders at the show, agreeing to take an additional 3 A330neos and up to 10 A350 freighters from Airbus. This only furthered their exposure and relevance, and I have a hunch that, after this week, more people will think of Starlux the next time they're booking a flight.
Okay, so those are the winners of this year's show. Now it's time for the fun part. Let's talk about the losers. The first loser of the show is the A350? Wait a second, didn't the A350 just make the winners list? Well, yeah, but not everything was sunshine and rainbows for the XWB. Remember, it did lose that Thai Airways order to the 787. But it's not really that they lost the deal, and more how they lost the deal that's most problematic.
It appears that Airbus itself didn't fumble the deal. Instead, it was Rolls-Royce. It's not exactly a secret that Rolls has struggled with profitability, and as a result, its new CEO has pivoted its pricing strategy. The company is no longer focused on offering steep discounts to win deals. Instead, they're focused on driving higher profit margins, which can also lead to higher prices. In the case of the Thai deal, reports suggest that Rolls-Royce took a tough stance on pricing, especially for maintenance services. And as a result, Thai was pushed away from the A350 and towards a GEnx-powered 787.
This signifies a mounting problem for Airbus. According to rumors, this wasn't the first time that they lost a deal because of Rolls-Royce, and it probably won't be the last.
Now, don't get me wrong. The Trent XWB is a fantastic engine and is by all accounts one of the most efficient ever conceived. But it's also the only engine that powers the A350, which in cases like these can leave Airbus vulnerable. Perhaps it's time for Airbus to start looking at alternate engine options for the A350. Otherwise, it might keep losing these winnable deals.
The next loser of the show is Boeing's commercial display, or should I say, the lack thereof. Like I alluded to earlier, Boeing didn't bring a single commercial jet either borrowed from its customers or taken from its own flight test fleet, and that decision seems a little bit odd.
After all, APAC is growing incredibly fast, and as it stands today, Airbus owns a bigger share of the market. So what better way to secure new customers than to show off your latest and greatest aircraft in person? Well, I have a hunch that Boeing chose not to bring their jets to the show in order to avoid drawing attention to recent events, With the recent blowout of the Alaska door plug, programs like the 737 MAX 7, MAX 10, and 777X are likely to see further certification delays. And while I think Boeing actually did a pretty good job of taking responsibility in the wake of the accident, this tactic feels like they're hoping to avoid answering tough questions on what is a very public stage.
The final loser of the air show is Boeing's freighter business. For the longest time, Boeing has absolutely dominated the market for new freighter aircraft, but things are starting to change.
This is largely due to the A350 freighter. Now, if you'll recall, Starlux placed an order for up to 10 of these jets, and when it did, Airbus officially overtook the 777-8F in total orders. In addition, Airbus also announced an increase in the A350F's max payload, which improves the plane's value proposition. And all the while, the 777-8F has sat idle, and it now hasn't won an order in over a year. Now look, Boeing will certainly have a chance to re-establish itself as the go-to OEM for freighter aircraft. It continues to evaluate a new mid-sized freighter, either based on the 787 or 767 platform. That program should be lucrative, but for the time being, it seems that Boeing's lost its iron grip on the freighter market.
So those are the big winners and losers of this year's Singapore Airshow. And let me know what you think. Do you agree with my picks, or am I missing someone? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Now, before I sign off, I just want to take a second and thank you all for your continued support. This is the third straight air show that I've been able to attend in a row, and it really all comes down to you guys and the continued support that you show for my work. Now, I would love to go to Farnborough this summer, so if you like what I'm doing and you want to see me continue to go to these shows, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, do all the things to help this video reach more people. Oh, and a special thanks to my Patreon supporters for your continued financial support. Without that, I simply wouldn't be able to come here in the first place. Thanks so much again for watching, and until I see you again, don't forget to look up.